everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Elizabeth and I'm a holistic health and embodiment coach. I help women heal through a mind, body, and spirit approach by supporting their nervous system, healing gut and hormone health, self-love, embodiment, emotional healing, and reconnecting with their authentic selves. Today's topic is one that completely changed my own healing journey. We're talking about boundaries. Now, when most people hear the word boundaries, they immediately think about telling people no. But boundaries are so much more than that. They're about honoring your energy. They're about honoring your nervous system, honoring your values, honoring your peace. For many years, I struggled with boundaries myself. Like many women, I wanted to keep everyone happy. I wanted to avoid conflict. I wanted to be a kind, understanding, and helpful person. But somewhere along the way, I realized I had become so focused on taking care of everyone else that I wasn't taking care of myself properly. And eventually, my body began asking me to pay attention through signs of stress, exhaustion, resentment, feeling overwhelmed with extreme nervous system dysregulation and a compromised immune system because of it, getting sick way more frequently than I should have. Looking back now, I don't see boundaries as something that separates us from other people. I see them as one of the deepest forms of self-respect that you can have. Today, we're going to talk about what boundaries really are, why so many of us struggle with them, how they affect our nervous system and our relationships, and how learning to create healthy boundaries can become one of the greatest acts of healing that we can do. So, for starters, what are boundaries? A boundary is simply a healthy limit that protects your physical, emotional, mental, energetic, and spiritual well-being. Think of your home, for example. Most homes have doors, windows, fences, and locks, yes? Not because people hate the world outside, but because healthy homes have ways of deciding what comes in and what stays out. Your life works much the same way. Healthy boundaries allows you to remain open-hearted without becoming overwhelmed. They allow generosity without self-sacrifice, kindness without self-abandonment. So next, let's discuss why so many women struggle. I think many women weren't actually taught healthy boundaries, myself included. At least not from what I've personally witnessed myself and for what I know of the existing cultural norms that were unfortunately inherited to us through prior generations. Instead, many of us were praised for being the helper, the caretaker, the peacemaker, the people pleaser, the one who never complained, the one who always said yes when somebody needed something. But over time, we began believing that our worth came from how we could give of ourselves and to others. And here's the problem in that. When your sense of self-worth or value depends on constantly meeting everyone else's needs, eventually you lose touch with your own. That's not selfishness, that's self-abandonment. So what is the nervous system connection in this? There is something I wish more people understood about boundaries. Poor boundaries don't just affect your calendar. They affect your biology. Every time you ignore your own needs, say yes when you truly mean no, suppress your emotions, or stay in environments that don't feel safe, your nervous system receives information. It begins learning that your needs are not important. And over time, that chronic stress can contribute to exhaustion, anxiety, resentment, digestive symptoms, disrupted sleep patterns, and feeling emotionally depleted, most of which I suffered from myself. Your body isn't trying to punish you, it's trying to communicate with you. Sometimes symptoms are asking us to create the boundaries that our words haven't yet expressed. So now let's look at the spiritual perspective in this. One thing I love about spiritual teachings and why I use them often in my videos is that they consistently point back towards truth and discernment. Jesus often stepped away from crowds to pray and rest. He served others with compassion, yes, yet he also withdrew when he needed solitude. This example reminds us that even a life of service includes rhythms of rest and intentional boundaries. Buddhist teachings, on the other hand, encourage the middle way, avoiding extremes and cultivating mindful, compassionate action rather than acting from obligation or fear. Carl Jung wrote extensively about individuation, the process of becoming our authentic selves rather than living solely according to others' expectations of us. And across these different perspectives, there's a common thread. You cannot fully live your purpose if you continually abandon yourself. Healthy boundaries aren't about becoming less loving. They're about allowing your love to come from a place of wholeness instead of depletion. You cannot pour from an empty cup, as they say. So make sure that yours is filled first so that you actually have the energetic capacity to help others. Now, what are some everyday examples of this? Let's make this practical. Imagine someone constantly calls you late at night, for example. Instead of answering every time they do, you kindly explain, I care about you, but after 8 p.m., I unplug so I can rest. Let's catch up tomorrow. That's a boundary. Imagine you have a boss who regularly asks you to stay late. Instead of silently agreeing every time, you respectfully communicate what's realistic and what isn't. That's a boundary. Imagine a family member continually criticizes your choices. Doesn't matter what their relationship is to you. Instead of arguing, disrupting your own peace, you calmly say, I understand we see things differently, but I'm not willing to continue conversations that become disrespectful. That's a boundary. Notice something here. None of these examples involved anger. They're rooted in clarity. Healthy boundaries don't require harshness. They just require honesty. So why do boundaries feel so hard? Many people fear boundaries because they worry about things like people won't like me, or they'll leave me, they'll think I'm selfish, or I'll disappoint them. These fears are understandable, and I had some of them myself in the beginning. Sometimes, especially if you've spent years people-pleasing, setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first. But discomfort doesn't automatically mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it simply means you're doing something differently. And here's something important to remember in this. People who may have benefited from your lack of boundaries in the past may struggle when you begin to create them. That doesn't mean that your boundary is unhealthy or unacceptable in some way. It simply means that the relationship is going to have to adjust to a new dynamic now going forward. What are some practical steps that you can take here? Where do you begin putting this in motion? Start noticing where resentment shows up for you. Resentment is often information. Ask yourself questions like, where am I saying yes when I truly mean no? Where do I feel emotionally drained? What relationships leave me feeling unsafe or even exhausted? What would honoring myself look like here in this situation? Begin with one small boundary. Practice saying things like, let me think about that, instead of automatically saying yes to them. Give yourself permission to pause. Your nervous system will thank you. Next, let's go over boundaries and expansion. This brings us back to something we've talked about in previous videos, because growth requires space. If your schedule is always full, if your energy always belongs to everyone else, if your attention is constantly pulled outward instead of inward, there isn't much room left in your day or your life for your own healing. Boundaries create space for things like your creativity, space for rest, space for reflection, space for joy, space for becoming who you truly are. Sometimes saying no to one thing is actually saying yes to your future. If there's one thing that I hope you remember from today's video, it's this. A boundary is not a rejection of another person. It's an acceptance of yourself. Boundaries aren't walls built to keep love out. They're loving limits that allow healthy relationships to grow. They're the foundation that allows love to remain healthy and supportive. When you honor your own needs with a sense of compassion, you teach others how to honor them too. You stop living from obligation and you begin living from intention. Healing isn't about becoming harder. It's about becoming more honest with yourself. And boundaries are one of the clearest expressions of that honesty. Healing often begins the moment we stop abandoning ourselves. And as mentioned on prior videos, the universe always mirrors back to us our internal state and wounds for awareness, so that once you have integrated the lesson of boundaries and self-abandonment, you may find that the people in your life start to show up differently towards you, and you may even start attracting new, healthier connections as well. And if today's video resonated with you at all, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What's one boundary you've created for yourself? Or one boundary you know your heart has been asking you to create that maybe you haven't yet. Your story may encourage someone else who is learning this alongside you. If you're looking for support in creating healthier relationships with both yourself and others, I'd love to invite you to explore my wellness resources that's linked for you in the comments and description. Together, we work on nervous system regulation, embodiment, self-love, gut and hormone health, emotional healing, and creating sustainable transformation from the inside out. And if you enjoyed this video today, don't forget to to support the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Subscribe so that you don't ever miss the weekly videos, and please share it with someone who you think might need this message today too. Thank you so much for being here today and for all of your support and being a part of this growing community. And remember, every healthy boundary that you create is a declaration that your peace, your energy, and your well-being matter. This is your weekly reminder to do something today that brings you joy. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.